So, looking at this massive stack of research and corporate memos you sent over for today, one thing is becoming incredibly clear.
Oh, yeah, it really is.
The era of the simple AI prompt, where we spent hours carefully crafting text just to trick a chatbot into writing a polite email, is officially ending.
Right. It was a fascinating phase, but it was highly manual. You were the driver, and the AI was just, well, a very fast engine.
Exactly. And now we are making way for the era of autonomous agentic software.
We are moving from software that just assists us to software that actually executes on our behalf.
And to truly understand what that means for you, whether you're running a business, writing code, or just trying to navigate this whole tech landscape, we were taking a deep dive today into a massive, highly coordinated shift.
A shift that Microsoft executed in basically a single week.
Right. We're locking in on updates published globally between March 15th and March 21st, 2026.
Honestly, it's arguably one of the most pivotal 7-day sprints in modern tech history.
Just to tease the stakes here, in that 1 week, Microsoft restructured its entire Copilot leadership
Yeah, they became the first hyperscale cloud to power on NVIDIA's newest supercomputer, too.
and released a 700 control security framework.
Mhm.
Because, AI agents are now talking directly to other AI agents.
Which is terrifying and amazing all at once.
Totally. So our mission today is to unpack exactly how Microsoft is rewiring its entire stack, from the raw intelligence models through the boardroom org chart, all the way down to the subterranean optical cables.
Because you have to look at the whole picture to see how autonomous enterprise AI is becoming a reality.
Right. So before we look at how AI is deployed, let's look at the brain power. Because for a long time, Microsoft relied heavily on OpenAI. But looking at this post from the Microsoft AI blog on March 19th, that dependency is definitely shifting.
Yeah, the headline there was Introducing MAI Image 2 for Limitless Creativity.
And this is a global release, right?
Yep. It's an in-house text-to-image diffusion model. It rolled out immediately to Copilot and Bing Image Creator.
Which is huge. The focus is on photorealism and accurate in-image text rendering, which, as we know, AI has always struggled with spelling words and pictures.
Oh, absolutely. The messed up hands and the scrambled billboard text. But why this really matters is that it proves Microsoft intends to build and own proprietary top-tier frontier models.
Right, because they entered the market directly as the #3 model family on the Arena.ai leaderboard.
Exactly.
It's sort of like a car manufacturer deciding they don't just want to license engines from another company anymore. They want to build a world-class engine themselves.
That's a great analogy. If you rely entirely on a partner, you're stuck with their update schedules and their API limits. By building their own, Microsoft controls the margins and the hardware optimization.
But, having a brilliant model is great in theory. Proving it works in a high-stakes environment is different.
Totally different. Which leads us to the testing ground. On March 20th, the Microsoft Security blog published an update globally.
The headline was about CTI Realm, a new benchmark for end-to-end detection rule generation.
Right. They basically open-sourced an evaluation framework to test if AI agents can actually read cyber threat intelligence CTI reports and successfully write operational detection rules.
And this shifts the whole way we evaluate AI, right?
Yeah.
From, can it answer trivia to can it execute a 50-task cybersecurity workflow without hallucinating.
Exactly. And that is vital for the listener to understand. If you're an enterprise, you cannot deploy an autonomous security agent without a standardized way to score its accuracy against ground truth.
Because if it hallucinates on step 14 of a 50-task workflow,
then the next 36 steps are compromised. The whole thing falls apart.
Wow. Okay, so they're building the raw intelligence and they've got the brutal testing ground. But to get these advanced models into the hands of the listener, the corporate org chart has to align.
Oh yeah, the organizational chart was arguably holding them back.
Which brings us to March 17th. Global announcement on the official Microsoft blog, the headline, Announcing Copilot Leadership Update.
CEO Satya Nadella announced a major reorganization.
Right. Jacob Andreou was appointed as EVP of a unified Copilot organization.
Well, Mustafa Suleyman shifted his focus exclusively to frontier superintelligence models.
Now, I have to push back a little here. I mean, changing a vice president's title often just feels like standard corporate musical chairs.
Sure, it looks like that on the surface.
So how does this actually change the software we use?
Well, you have to look at Conway's Law.
Okay, remind me how that works.
Conway's Law is a software engineering adage. It basically says that any organization that designs a system will produce a design that mirrors its own communication structure.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So by merging the Copilot platform leadership with the traditional Microsoft 365 apps leadership, the Word and Excel teams, they're forcing AI to be a native feature.
Rather than a bolted-on afterthought.
Exactly. If Word and Copilot have the same boss, the same roadmap, they integrate seamlessly.
That makes total sense.
Mm.
And we actually saw the result of that integration the very next day on March 18th.
The Dynamics 365 update.
Yes. On the Microsoft Dynamics 365 blog, the headline was, 2026 Release Wave 1 plans for Dynamics 365 and Power Platform.
And this is where they fundamentally shift from passive AI assistants to active self-healing agents.
Across sales, supply chain, and finance workloads.
Right. It turns Copilot from a conversational chatbot into an autonomous command center.
So instead of me asking, hey, are we low on microchips? And it just saying yes.
The agent notices the shortage, drafts a purchase order, checks the supplier API, and routes it for budget approval, all in the background.
That is wild. It's executing multi-step business processes.
But to do that, developers need the right tools, which is why the March 16th updates are so crucial.
Right. On the Microsoft Developer Blog, the headline there was Foundry Agent Service's GA and AI Toolkit for VS Code update.
GA meaning generally available for production scale.
And they also updated the AI Toolkit for VS Code to version 0.32.0.
This is a huge deal for developers. It unifies agent building into a single developer interface.
So developers don't have to bounce around different portals.
Exactly. They have a fully unified enterprise-grade pipeline to build, test, and deploy AI agents entirely inside their existing IDE.
And the release specifically highlights end-to-end private networking.
Yes, because if you're building an agent that touches sensitive corporate data, you can't have it pinging the public internet. It keeps everything secured in-house.
Makes sense. Now, speaking of developer tools, there was another global update on March 17th in the GitHub changelog.
Ah, the LTS announcement.
Right. GPT 5.3 Codex long-term support in GitHub Copilot. GitHub designated this as its first LTS long-term support model,
guaranteeing its availability as a base model for a full 12 months.
Now wait, with AI moving at like light speed right now, isn't a 12-month lock-in basically an eternity? Why would anyone want that?
It sounds counterintuitive, but enterprise governance actually requires this predictability.
Really? How so?
Think about compliance. If you're a bank and you audit your software for security, you can't have the underlying AI model changing its logic overnight.
Oh, because it would break the compliance certification.
Exactly. The LTS model gives them 12 months of total stability for testing and compliance.
And the release noted it still delivers a measured 2% reduction in developer task time.
Yep, using semantic code search. So it's stable, but still highly efficient.
Okay, so we have the models, the org structure, the tools, but let's transition a bit because there's a looming crisis here.
The physical infrastructure.
Yeah. If all these autonomous agents are constantly talking to each other, generating code and querying databases, I mean, they're going to require an ungodly amount of compute power.
Oh, absolutely. The physical limits of data centers are being pushed to the breaking point.
Which brings us to Segment C chips and Infra. On March 16th, there was a major global announcement on the official Microsoft blog.
Microsoft at NVIDIA GTC, new solutions for Azure AI infrastructure.
Right. Microsoft announced it is the first hyperscale cloud to power on NVIDIA's next-generation Vera Rubin NVL72 systems in its labs.
This is right after they deployed hundreds of thousands of Grace Blackwell GPUs.
And why this matters is the sheer scale. Azure is pushing a staggering 3.6 exaflop PS per rack.
Which maintains a massive hardware advantage for these inference-heavy reasoning workloads.
Exaflop PS. I mean, the numbers are just dizzying.
Right.
But with all that power comes a massive problem with heat and energy consumption.
Yeah,
right?
You can't just keep plugging in more lasers without melting down the municipal power grid.
Which is why this March 17th post on Microsoft News is so fascinating, the headline. MicroLED and hollow core fiber networking research.
The Microsoft research team introduced a huge breakthrough here.
Yeah, they are replacing energy-heavy laser fiber optics with inexpensive micro-LEDs and hollow core fibers.
Meaning they pass light through air instead of solid glass?
Right. I was trying to think of an analogy for this. It's like traditional lasers are like a high-pressure, incredibly hot fire hose.
Right.
Whereas this micro-LED approach is like a wide, calm, cool river. It moves the exact same amount of data, but with far less destructive energy and heat.
That wide and slow optical paradigm is exactly how they describe it. It cuts networking power consumption by 50%,
Half the power consumption.
and it reduces latency. This allows data centers to scale massively without literally burning up.
Okay, so they've re-engineered the cables, but let's look at safety and governance, because having exaflop-scale supercomputers running autonomous agents is, well, it's terrifying if you don't have the right guardrails.
Oh, for sure. How do you secure a software entity that can literally make its own decisions?
Exactly. And Microsoft addressed this on March 19th, global release on the Microsoft security blog.
The ZT4 AI announcement.
Yep. New tools and guidance, announcing zero trust for AI.
They released a massive framework extending zero trust principles across the entire AI lifecycle.
From data ingestion all the way to agent behavior. And it arms chief information security officers with 700 specific security controls.
Across 116 logical groups.
That is just an immense amount of policy.
But it's necessary to safely scale agentic AI without risking things like prompt injection or data leaks.
And they followed up on that the very next day, March 20th, again on the Microsoft security blog.
At the RACC 2026 conference.
The headline was, Secure Agentic AI End-to-End. They announced that their centralized control plane for autonomous software, called Agent 365, will hit general availability on May 1st.
And the metric they shared there is just staggering. Microsoft is protecting 24 billion Copilot interactions daily.
24 billion
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah, and Agent 365 embeds AI controls directly into existing security tools.
So companies don't have to buy a completely new separate dashboard just for AI security?
Exactly. It weaves right into what the security team is already using.
All right, so with the infrastructure built and the security locked down, Segment E looks at how they are pushing this into the market.
They're being incredibly aggressive with partnerships and enterprise adoption.
On March 18th, TechCrunch reported on Microsoft AI's M&A activity. The headline, Microsoft acquire hires Sequoia-backed AI collaboration startup Cove.
Cove was a $6 million seed-funded startup founded by former Google Maps engineers.
And Microsoft basically absorbed the entire team and shut down the Cove app to fold the talent into Microsoft AI.
Which is a classic acquire-hire. It continues their strategy of absorbing elite niche AI product teams
to rapidly integrate those specialized collaboration features into their own tools, like Teams and Loop.
Right. They buy the brains, not just the product.
And they're also targeting smaller companies. On March 16th and updated on the 18th, the Microsoft Partner Center released a global update.
New Microsoft Azure assets for SMB audiences.
SMB meaning small and medium businesses. They released these curated go-to-market playbooks specifically to help partners sell Azure AI and Copilot to that segment.
And the reason why is in the projections. Microsoft projects the SME segment's total addressable market will hit a staggering $777 billion by FY26.
That is a massive pie. And they're leveraging their partner ecosystem to capture it.
Because they can't do it all with direct sales. They need their partners to bring agentic AI to local businesses.
So just to summarize the incredible scope of this single week, Microsoft reshaped its executive team.
They released proprietary image models,
Pushed agentic AI tools and developer frameworks to general availability.
re-engineered the actual physics of data center cables.
And locked it all down with a 700-point security framework.
It's breathtaking when you lay it all out like that.
It really is. And the so what for the listener here is that this isn't just a list of tech news updates.
No, it is the blueprint for the next decade of the global economy. The transition from software that assists us to software that executes for us is officially complete.
We have spent the last few years learning how to talk to AI. But as these updates from Microsoft show, the AI is about to start talking to itself.
Autonomously.
Yeah, which leaves you with a really provocative scenario to mull over. When you book your next vacation or try to negotiate a vendor contract for your business, what happens when your personal AI agent has to negotiate directly with a corporate AI agent?
It's going to happen entirely in the background.
Right. So who is really making the decision? It's a wild thought.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.